Check, check, check. Can everybody hear that okay? All right. All right. Well, Mrs. Chase, young adults. I just love this. But y'all are pretty much taller than me, but anyway, and I even have heels. It's pretty sad. All right, tonight we are really excited. I want to say first, I was contacted by this young lady right here, asking if we would do this proclamation, and I was very impressed with her letter and her contact and her follow-up and everything, and so obviously you are doing something very right at the Wellington High School with these young FFA students. So, here's the proclamation. Whereas FFA and agriculture education provide a strong foundation for the youth of America and the future of the food, fiber, and natural resource systems. And whereas FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members. And whereas agricultural education and FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing needs in the science, business, and technology of agriculture. And whereas the FFA motto, you guys know this? Learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, gives direction of purpose to these students who take an active role in succeeding in agricultural education. And whereas FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation, therefore I do hereby designate the week of February 18th through the 25th, 2017 as FFA week. And this has got my signature as the Mayor of Wellington. So I will present this to you and say thank you so much. And thank you, Mrs. Chase. I would like for you, first of all, I want to find out who all we have here. So tell me your name and what year you are.
Amber Rock, student teacher.
Morgan Hayes, senior.
You're good.
Aaron Schumann, junior.
Levi Preston, senior.
Daniel Schmidt, junior.
Cody Metz, sophomore.
All right. Thanks, guys. You look so young. All right. Mrs. Chase, tell us quickly just about some of the good stuff that you guys have planned for this coming week. Yeah, absolutely.
For the FFA week on Monday, on the February 20th, we are having our annual spaghetti feed, which is free for the community to come out to. After the spaghetti feed is our labor auction, live auction. So it is your opportunity if you need some raking done or some things cleaned up around the house, you can come purchase one of these lovely students for a 4-hour or an 8-hour shift. And so you can get some work out of them and have some extra help around the house. And then Wednesday we are having our teacher luncheon, and so we will be serving lunch to all the teachers, parents, and staff at the high school that day. We'll also be inviting some board members and different people that help us out a lot in the community. Thursday we're doing an elementary visit. We're going to be going and talking to some elementary students about agriculture, where their food comes from, where their fiber comes from, and different things, and how to eat healthy snacks. And then Friday is kind of the culmination of the week, and that is we are having a food collection to help restock the Wellington food pantry here. It's depleted after the Christmas season, and so we are taking and doing a food drive at the high school to help replenish it. And the 4 Crusader Connection classes that have the most cans collected during the week, they get to participate in a dodgeball tournament.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
And so everybody who wants to come watch the dodgeball tournament can pay an admission of 1 food can or 1 can and get in to watch the dodgeball tournament at the end of the day on that Friday.
Awesome. All right, gang, you ready for a good week? Okay. That's a lot of work. It is. All right. Well, congratulations, and we were certainly happy to do this proclamation for you. And I'm telling you, these are your future leaders right up here. You guys ready to run for council? We're going to have some positions open here before too long. All right. Look at Morgan. Morgan's ready to go. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you guys.
You bet.
Thank you.
Oh, Linda, you might.
I'll put it.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Thanks again, Morgan. All right. Good kiddos. Okay, moving on. That's all of our audience participation. Next thing we have up is our consent agenda, which includes our approval of minutes, appropriations, and and receipt of council correspondence. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move we read the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve our consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. All right, it is approved. We now have reports of mayor and council. Mr. Liddell, I'll start with you.
I have nothing this time.
Okay? Mr.
I
Wellington?
wanted to thank the street department, the electric department, with the lights they put in, the new lights they put in down here south of Lee Capitol now. Brighten things up down there for those people. So thank you, Jeremy, whoever, Jason, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Mr. Buck?
Nothing tonight.
All right, Mrs. Horty?
Nothing tonight.
Mrs. Holly?
I have nothing.
Mr. Etter?
Have nothing.
All right, just want to say a quick congratulations to our 7th and 8th grade girls team who both ended their seasons undefeated and brought the league title home to Wellington. So, pretty amazing. The 8th grade girls haven't lost in 2 years. So I think Lady Crusader football is in good hands, basketball is in good hands, beyond what we already are seeing. And our Crusaders are in action tonight, a viewer, so. Other than that, I really don't have anything else, so we'll move on to our city officials, where our first thing is a 2017 cereal malt beverage application for Mr. William Jean Calvert of Pastime Bar and Grill. Mr. Shields, you want to tell us about this?
Cereal malt beverage application submitted to the city clerk's office. Mr. Calvert is, I believe, present.
No, Mr. Calvert's out of town, I'm here to represent him.
You're Mr. Cox, correct?
Right.
Okay. This is for the pastime bar. It is a new application. It was submitted to the police and fire department as normal procedure. They have both signed off on it during the checks that they are required to do. License fee has been paid, and Mr. Cox is present. Should you have any questions, new applicant, they are required to be present per your municipal code, so they are present.
All right, anybody have any questions or comments about this?
Move to approve, Madam Mayor.
Awesome. Second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this application for the new owners of the Pastime Bar and Grill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, congratulations. When are you opening?
Soon as remodeling's done.
Awesome. Okay. Well, very good. All right, number 2, or the second item is the KMEA board appointment. Director number 1, and this is a memo from our wonderful city clerk, Ms. Carroll.
We were notified that John Bales, he is the director number 1 now, and his term expires April 30th. He checked and he can run again, and he consented to do so. So we need a motion in favor of that if council approves.
For John Bales. Okay,
I'll make a motion, we reappoint.
A second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we reappoint Mr. John Bales to this director number 1 position on the KMEA board. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. All right, it is approved. Tell John we appreciate his service. All right, no public hearings tonight. Under ordinances, I don't think we have any of those as well. So we're gonna move right on to our resolutions for this evening. And the first one is a resolution approving and accepting bids and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Miller Lawn Incorporated of Poisington, Kansas for the purchase of a 2017 Harper ATM 162 something or other slope mower for the water production department in the amount of $137,500.
This is a slope mower, as you indicated, for the water production. It has been delayed 2 or 3 years at least. It mows the dam. Utility Director Jason Newberry is present to provide you some details on the purpose and the bids that we're obtaining.
Okay,
So this is replacing the current slope mower that we have out of water production right now. As City Manager Chip said, this is more primarily used for mowing the dam. We are required by KDHE to maintain the dam, to a certain standard. One issue that we do have at the dam is, just like every place else in the county, is the thistles. Unfortunately though, with the dam being in proximity of our potable water supply there, we can't spray the thistles. So one of the best ways to maintain them is to just keep it mowed and groomed properly. The guys have been kind of limping along at Dewey's 70-inch mower for the last few years, and at times it doesn't even run long enough to get the job done. So the lake has been gracious enough to loan us their tractor and brush hog at times to mow the dam. And that's a pretty unsafe operation. At spots, the dam is in excess of 30 degrees angle, and the tractor tends to slide. We've had several of our employees kind of mention that it's not a safe practice. We agree with that. This particular mower that we're looking at, the chassis of the mower stays perpendicular to the ground. The deck angles with the slope, so it keeps the operator and the main weight of the mower in touch with the ground, and we feel it's a lot safer operation.
Okay,
I have a question.
yes, Mrs. Cordy.
Can you use it any other place? I mean,
Actually, Director Jones and I were just talking about that. We also have another dam to maintain in the city, and that's Harvest Creek.
yeah,
So yeah, we were planning on working out a way to get that mower kind of moved back and forth between those two dams. We both kind of agreed that this mower needs to be dedicated to mowing the dams, not necessarily some of the other structures we have around town. Due to the price of it, this isn't something we want to be replacing all the time.
Right,
We want to dedicate it to that single operation.
that's great. Any other questions or comments?
I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, we don't want anyone sliding anymore. And with this crazy weather, we may need to go out there before too long. Anybody else, any questions, comments? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve this purchase.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution to accept the bids and authorize the city manager to execute this agreement with Miller Lawn of Wellington for the slope mower. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Betts,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mr. Wetta,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mrs. Holly,
Yes.
Mrs. Cordy.
Yes.
That is affirmative 6 votes for Resolution 5795.
Okay. Our second resolution tonight is authorizing the city manager to sign supplemental agreement number 1 for services for improvements to the Wellington Municipal Airport with H.W. Lochner Incorporated for FAA AIP project number 3, and a whole bunch of numbers. I wondered why Patrick was here. Well,
This is the project at the airport. This is changing the scope of design. Lockmore is our design company. This is changing that scope. This does not obligate us to the project. I mean, that's one important thing. We still do not have the final numbers of the changes. As you recall, the changes from the FAA regarding the sewer portion of the project. We don't have those final numbers. This is changing the design of the several different areas impacted by that. I believe this number, and again, Airport Manager Hamlin is here to provide you more details and specific questions. I believe that the estimate of this increase was $75,000, which this is the 90 and 10% split, so 7,500 would be our increase on the design cost. Other than that, I'll let Airport Manager Hamlin provide some other details.
all right, Mr. Hamlin?
I'll provide a little bit of information with the agreement that I'm gonna go into about the status of the sewer looking issue. The agreement with Lochner is basically changing the scope of the project. Not changing the scope of the project, they're changing a few details. They're adding the removal of the lagoons, installation of the sewer force main, and installation of some newer lighting requirements that are regulated on a new category runway after you go 42, 200 feet. Some of the current infrastructure as far as the lighting, runway identifier lights and the position approach pathway indicator lights are both inadequate for 200 foot runway. So those are going to be replaced with LED but as far as the agreement itself, it's just basically ourselves, our consulting company, and the FAA agreeing to what the actual project consists of. Going into the sewer lagoon issue, I think Mr. Shields in previous meeting kind of give you a brief update on that. When the project was presented to us from the FAA and the grant money was communicated to us, it was under the understanding of the lagoons would be demolished and a force main was going to be constructed in its place on a 90-10% split. FAA decided that maybe moving the lagoons further west of the runway would be a more cost-effective approach. They wanted to review both sides of the situation. And in doing that, they found that the two are pretty much identical in price, but by eliminating the open water source next to the runway, you get rid of the wildlife hazard. So the FAA was now on board with doing away with the lagoons. In an email correspondence from the Central Region, they said, is there going to be any additional businesses other than public use or aviation use entities attached to the sewer system? The current sewer system at the airport is gravity fed to a certain point and then pumped to the lagoon. So in fact, basically all of the infrastructure at the airport will be onto the sewer. FAA determined that they were not going to fund 90-10% because private businesses would be gaining the utility upgrade on federal dollar. We disagreed with that because we thought it was a safety concern, not necessarily an infrastructure upgrade, because the lagoons were found in violation of the runway safety area. If it happened to be that the lagoons were not operated by the city of Wellington, the FAA would have removed those and put in the sewer main at a 90-10% split. But since we are under the jurisdiction of owning, operating, controlling those entities, they said that it wasn't going to be that case. Shane and I didn't like the response we were getting from Central Region, so we took it to the director, not the director, but the supervisor of Central Region of the engineering aspect of it. I got the same response, so we had a actual congressional review of the project where it took it out of the hands of Central Region, went to FAA in DC. The response was the same as Central Region, unfortunately, but that's as high as we can go. It cannot go up any further than that. With that said, I filed a grant application to the state of Kansas for asking for more assistance on this project, and the sum of $420,000. I was told that that was not going to be a reachable number, but there could be a possibility of additional funding down the road as far as maybe not all of it, but some of it.
So the federal government is not paying for anything now, as far as the sewer part?
The federal government is going to pay for a prorated share of the sewer. Engineer estimate is going to be $420,000.
Okay.
The argument we're in right now is by their definition of private entities being, or their utilities being bettered by this project, the demolition of the lagoons and wildlife hazard has nothing to do with that. So we're asking for that portion of this sewer issue to be taken out of the equation and be brought back to 90% split, and only the new construction costs and construction services be on the prorated share.
Yes.
So any public use entity at the airport, which unfortunately is going to be only the terminal building.
Right.
So you can assume that the prorated share of that is going to be more extreme than what we were anticipating.
So that's the question. What's the difference between what we expected it to be and what it's gonna be about? I know you don't have exactly.
So if the whole thing was split 90-10 and the $420,000 would be $42,000. So if we eliminate the $100,000 that our consulting company has in there for the demolition of the lagoons, if that goes our way as far as where the FAA sees the justification of that, we're still at 320. The terminal building's gonna probably be 5 to 10% of the overall cost of the prorated share of it, so we could be looking at anywhere from 250 to 300, rough numbers.
And that's just with regards to
That's
the
just the sewer aspect of it.
Right. the other upgrades will all be under the
It's
90?
all under 90-10% split, so the $3 million project is still, if we add the 10% we had for the entire project, which is 280,000 or and some change, our state's paying half of our share, so we're on hook for 140, with the potential of having another, 280, 300.
And that 140, remember, originally was planned, 60 of that was utility funds already. 80 was what the general fund would have to do, and that's what the discussion was. We've already authorized a GO bond, if that's how we need to go. And to do that locally, that was the discussion, but, we'll need to wait and see what the final utility number is, and then look at that at that point, and see what options we have regarding that portion of it.
And unfortunately, the way the FAA grant system works is not necessarily normal. Most grants, you apply for the grant and you get a block number. The way that the FAA grant system works is they earmark a certain amount of dollars and say, hey, we have this number of dollars available per grant if you so accept the project. What happens now is everyone gets their ducks in a row, engineers get the construction services lined up, we get the plans drawn up, and as soon as the project's ready, we bid the project. From that standpoint, the bid gets taken to the FAA to apply for the grant. So we won't know the actual final numbers of the actual sewer until we bid this, which will be distributed May 1st and then probably open June 1st. This is gonna have to be a separate bid item as far as the total package, so that way we can get all the numbers separated from issues.
So we're talking fall before we can get approval from the FAA, get all this done. We're talking, it could be in the next year before we actually do something.
The way it's scheduled right now is advertise May 1st, open bids June 1st. Get our paperwork together, submit a application by July 1st with a grant in place by the middle of July. So there is a possibility still of construction going late summer, early fall, but it's also going to be at the discretion of the contractor that the bid is awarded to, where they may defer until early 2018.
Or you're counting on the FAA coming right back.
In years past, it's always been a pretty immediate response because the projects are already lined out. They're just waiting for bids to come in.
So here's what I'm thinking. We're looking at this water issue, the raw water issue, which could be a substantial amount of money. We don't know. We're in litigation. We'll get a decision on that. Then we're looking at the Westboro Street project, which is a huge amount of money, however we look at it. And then we're looking at this. So we're looking at a substantial amount of money that we're gonna have to make a decision on within the next few months. If all these bids, we're getting a bid on the street, we're in litigation on the water issue. Well,
Just to line out the process for sure, I mean, to be sure everybody's on page on Westboro Streets, I mean, we're not getting a bid.
we're getting a number, a possible number, but this is what it could cost.
At this point in time on the Westboro Streets, based on your direction, the petition has been in the process of being created.
Right.
That petition must be carried by someone if they wish to carry that petition.
Right.
That will come to you, and then for your approval, then it will go, if approved, if you approve that, that's when it will go out for bid and we'll get it designed.
But we can't do anything till we get a number. The petition has to have a number.
Correct. Well, the
That's what
petition
I'm
has
talking
to be,
We gotta get and it's gonna be a substantial number.
yeah, in the end, whatever the number is going to be a significant number for the city, yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
However you wanna word it. whoever carries, we're not doing the petition, they are. I
You
understand.
indicated we were getting a bid, and that's not the step yet.
Well, however you want to word it.
Okay.
We're gonna have to make a decision on three issues that are gonna be substantial amount of money before the first of the year. And if this is, we're looking at this in late summer, we're gonna have to vote on this probably. If everything works out.
It's not gonna grab something in the middle of summer.
Okay.
I'd say middle of June.
That's what this is gonna be a big deal toward the end of the summer, all the money that we're gonna be talking about.
But by then, I'll have an answer from the state whether there's more funding or not.
Okay.
So, the action that's tonight has nothing to do with actually accepting the project. We can get to the point of bidding the project, and if we don't like the dollars and cents that come in on the bid process, we can scrap the whole project if you want.
I understand that. What I'm trying to get through my head and give to the people, the decisions we're gonna have to make this year. And it's substantial amount of money for the city of Wellington.
All right, Mr. Etter, did you have something?
I just wanted to ask, so obviously there's no solid numbers, but you put a pencil to a piece of paper. Where are we with regards to total cost? Let's say worst case scenario, let's say the state says, the initial amount that we said we would kick in is all we're gonna do. And worst case scenario, it's a very small percentage. What, are we at 20% total cost of project, our cost?
Okay, so
15,
it's,
25?
let me look here.
In my head, I just did the numbers real quick, and I'm still under 20%
Yeah,
total
so
cost of project.
if we have to put an additional 250,000 in and 146,000 from the original grant amount, divided by 2.8 million, 14%.
Okay, so 14%, and then in addition to that question, I guess Jeremy or Jason, I don't know which one it is. We currently, from a sewer standpoint, are we servicing out there, we have a pump station or something?
Yes.
And so,
Lift stations,
does that, we have personnel that have to attend to that on cycle, weekly, daily, whatever it is. If and when this project goes through at that point, that workload drastically is reduced, or if not goes completely away?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any idea of what kind of savings we're looking at with regards to that? I mean, aside from the fact that obviously it's a much more attractive location for business, and we've got now a longer runway and all of the other positives to it, but.
I don't know that I can give you an exact number on that, but yes, there is maintenance involved with lagoons, and actually, on the side note of that, those lagoons are under needed maintenance as we speak, deferred maintenance, for lack of a better term, so we're gonna put money in those lagoons, if we don't move forward one direction or the other.
Well, I guess what I was asking is that, let's say that we go back with a set of lagoons.
Different location.
Different location, but that still doesn't do away with the lift stations and that kind of stuff and the maintenance, and at that point, those are.
And keep in mind, this is a force main, so there's still going to be a lift station, something that is sending it back.
But it's not going to require weekly.
The level of care.
The level of manpower to go out there and
Right.
attend to it.
Right.
So, that's where I'm getting at is that I wanna make sure that everybody understands that even though this is a setback and it's not what I mean, in my opinion, it's typical big government, they don't understand, dollar for dollar makes this an obviously, it's a no-brainer, but they don't see it that way. But even worst case scenario, we're still talking 14% is what he's kind of roughly coming up, so we're talking, 15%, 20% worst case scenario for an upgrade like this to our infrastructure. And that it increases, the marketability of that airport with regards to industry, which obviously equates to jobs. And then in addition to that, we're gonna be looking at a cost savings with regards to personnel and manpower and stuff out there. So it's not the information we'd like to hear, it's not the best case, but I still think that it's still pretty darn good.
Is there do the businesses out there pay any, I guess they already pay sewer services and all that.
At a higher rate, I knew that.
Yeah, so, well, there's certainly some options to look at. Does anybody have any other questions or comments about our pending resolution for this, supplemental agreement?
So this is just making a plan or updating the plan to
scope of services as far as what we're actually looking for to bid the project. You know, removal of lagoons, 1,000-foot extension, new aviation procedures for the new runway in for instrument traffic, the new lighting systems. All this has to be contained in a document to the FAA that says we all understand we're all on the same page and we all are looking to do this project as of this point. There's no commitment thus far to put any dollars and cents into the project.
Okay. And do I understand you right that they came up with a decision that it was just as expensive to pay their portion of upgrading the sewer as it was to remove the lagoons over?
The engineer's estimate actually showed that removing the lagoons, putting a force main in was gonna be actually about $100,000 less than moving the lagoons, 200 or 300 feet to the west.
To me, I mean, I see that, but to me, it doesn't make much sense to, if we want to build a sewer out there, it doesn't make much sense to spend money for anybody to move the lagoons when it could be done easier along with this project. I mean, I know that the savings might not be to us, it may be to the federal government, but, you know, it's like spending money and then 2 or 3 years later, we go back and build the sewer. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to not do it.
Hold on, Mr. Eder and Mr. Whitman.
Jan, when you spoke, it jogged my memory, Jason, you had also said that, and you said it just earlier, that these lagoons are in.
Yes, sir. I mean, we've been, you guys know as well as everybody that this project's been kind of on hold for years, so, you know, we have been
So,
looking to put some.
Let's
work
say that
in.
we, for whatever reason, decide to 86 this entire runway. Now we've got the issue of the lagoons that we're gonna have to tackle completely, and it sounds to me like based on what these engineers are telling us, we're $100,000 to $200,000 higher just dealing with just the lagoons than to go with the FA at the 15% or whatever he
This
said.
would probably be more of a factor question with me, but, you know, then one would have to think, do you wanna put the money and maintenance into fixing them where they're at, or should we just move them?
So we're gonna spend more money to fix the lagoons that are obviously in desperate need of work and all of that. We're gonna spend 100 to 150,000 more to do just that, as opposed to, even with this bad, for lack of better terms, information we got back to FAA to go forward with this project where we get a longer runway, LED uplights, upgraded lights, the whole 9 yards, an actual system, all that, so. Still sounds like it's a no-brainer.
Mr. Whitman.
Well, you still got the bird, you got lagoons anywhere out there, you got bird problems. And you have one crash, you count birds. This is a no-brainer, however, we've gotta get rid of the lagoons and get a sewer. And, you know, we don't like it that we're gonna have to pay 14 or 15% instead of 10, but, we gotta get rid of the lagoons either now or later.
All right, so do I have a motion
I'll make a motion.
to approve?
Yes.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution authorizing our city manager to sign this supplemental agreement for the airport. Madam Clerk, please, a roll call.
Mrs. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordy? Yes. Mr. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Whitta?
Yes.
And Mr. Eder?
Yes.
6 affirmative votes for resolution 5796.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Patrick, appreciate the update. Keep on keeping on. All right, next resolution is authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement for engineering services with Professional Engineering Consultants, or PEC of Wichita, for Woodlawn Avenue for an amount not to exceed $46,000. That's what it says, from Ash Street to Woodlawn.
Harvey Avenue from Ash Street to.
Oh, along Harvey Avenue from Ash Street to Woodlawn, sorry, I don't know why I spaced that off.
Okay. This is the Harvey Avenue project that was approved in the 2017 budget. A few key points, significant amount of this is being paid for with the federal exchange dollars we receive, and then some various other, capital improvement funds. It is identified in the 2017 as a 2017 project in the Street Saver software, the program, if you remember, we purchased. With that, this is for the design, not to exceed $46,000. With that, I'll turn it over to Public Works Director Jones for some additional details.
The main portion of the project will be reconstructing the street from Ash to Woodlawn. New curb and gutter, new ADA ramps, and I believe there's 9 storm sewer inlet tops that need to be replaced. That's the bulk of the project right there. And, approved for the 2017 budget using predominantly funds that either federal fund exchange dollars or other reserves that we put money into each year.
That's great.
Our sidewalks included, are there any sidewalks along there?
There's existing sidewalks, and we would replace those as needed to meet the accessibility guidelines for coming off of the ramps.
Any other questions for Chairman? No? Do I have anything else, Chairman?
I anticipate maybe 6 to 8 weeks for a proposal that would be ready to bid out and then ultimately come back for your approval to select a contractor.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve this resolution.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution authorizing our city manager to sign this agreement for engineering services with DEC. Madam Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Mr. Butts? Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Etter? Mrs. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordy?
Yes.
That's 6 affirmative votes for resolution 5797.
All right, our fourth resolution tonight is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Allied Environmental Consultants Incorporated of Wichita, Kansas for the Wellington Solid Waste Facility Design Drawing Services in the amount of $10,250.
This is a requirement from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, requires these drawings. There's some history there with the last few years, and I'll let Director Jones provide those details.
We began working on this project back in 2013 with Allied. Allied AEC, Allied Environmental Services, has been the consulting engineer for the landfill for at least 20 years when Sumner County owned it. 2013, we began working on this plan, actually had a final submittal ready and approved, went to KDHE, they had several comments. Long story short, it went back and forth between KDHE and Allied. Essentially, it came down to KDHE was working on new guidance, and AEC decided to put this on the back burner until the final guidance was approved. Finalized, which happened in February of 2015. At that May of 2015, KDHE indicated that we essentially should just start over instead of working with what we had because their changes are so dramatic. Since that time, AEC has been working on this exact same deal with Cali County. They finalized that just 3 or 4 months ago, so they're very familiar with the process now. We don't have to be the guinea pig going through it once, or the first time, so that's good news for us, and that'd be $10,250 to AEC, and then we would have some surveying costs outside of that under separate contract for this project.
Any questions or comments? All right.
I move we do it.
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution authorizing our city manager to execute this agreement with AEC. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Etter?
Yes.
Mrs. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordy?
Yes.
Mr. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
6 affirmative votes for resolution 5798.
This is why I'm encouraging my son to become an engineer or an architect. All right, our fifth resolution tonight is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement with the Electric Utility Innovations LTD of Overland Park, Kansas for 14 150-watt lighting fixtures on aluminum poles for the park department in the amount of $33,800.
This is for additional walking trail lights at Warden Park. I'll turn it over to Director Jones for details, but certainly we would want to express our appreciation to the donor of these lights. And, they continue to add these lights for the purpose of, the public enjoyment. So certainly thanks to the donor. I'll let Director Jones provide some additional details.
Original lighting project, this is around the walking trail, around the softball complex at Wood Park. The original project was completed in 2010. 14 light fixtures and poles at that time. Since then, the donors have wished to double the amount of lighting out there, make it safer for everyone, especially this time of year when the evening gets dark early. Went with Electric Utility Innovations as a single source vendor to match the existing lights, so we will be putting 14 additional matching lights for what's there. All funds for this have been donated. To date, we have $45,637. This is $33,800. That will leave nearly $12,000 to purchase electrical and miscellaneous supplies for the installation.
Can you disclose who the donor is?
They wish to remain anonymous.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's fine. I just want to say thanks. That's awesome. Right.
They have supported this for 8 or 9 years now, so they've been very diligent and very thankful for that.
Absolutely.
So will this take up all of that 45,000 and leave it somewhere?
I think we will be pretty close. Again, that leaves about $12,000 for conduit and wiring and concrete to set the poles. Electric department will do the installation, so we are saving some money there, but we'll use, if not all, that 12,000, pretty close.
All right.
It's pretty close, it's $11,837
Yes.
and a few cents.
The first project, 24,000 for the fixtures and I think 7,800 for electrical and other supplies. So, if the price goes up relative to what it did on fixtures, we're gonna be pretty close to that price, 11,800.
All right. Well, whoever you are, thank you very much. Very much appreciate this makes our job very easy. So I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Second.
To approve.
Yeah, see, everybody wants to second it.
Who's second?
I believe Bill, is that who you have now, clerk? Okay. So I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution authorizing our city manager to sign this agreement with the Electric Utility Innovations for these lights. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Mrs. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordy?
Yes.
Mr. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Wetta?
Yes.
Mr. Etter?
Yes.
Again, 6 affirmative votes for Resolution 5799.
All right. Just a reminder, we do have a community foundation that you can set up things like this, charitable contributions to either the parks or any kind of city entity, and the Wellington Community Foundation, I know, would certainly appreciate more donations like this. It's just a good time to mention that, when a loved one dies, if you want that memory to live on, certainly this is something that can be considered, so. All right, we have no study items. However, we do have a need for an executive session, it looks like.
Madam Mayor, I move that we recess into an executive session for the discussion prior to the acquisition of real estate to include the city manager, city clerk, city attorney, public works director, and the council for,
I would recommend until 7:30.
7:35, until 7:35. Okay.
All right, maybe a second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.